I tested positive for chlamydia. Important announcement. Before we begin with today's stories, I have some bad news. Sadly, I have to inform you that this channel has been demonetized because of sexual content. Because of production costs, I'm going to stop posting videos on this channel in a few days. If you enjoyed my content, I have a second channel where I'll continue posting daily videos. Highly recommend checking it out. Link to my new channel is in the description. Thank you for your support so far and the support you're providing to the community in the comments. Without further ado, enjoy the video. He is my first and only one. We've been together 3 years. I had some suspicions at the beginning of our relationship. He kept talking to this other woman and hang out with her on work breaks without telling me. He did his best to hide it and insisted on talking to her even though he knew I did not like her in particular. Just an off feeling, a lot of rumors about her sleeping with men that were not single. I did see the conversations with her. He even told her about me in this one time that he will do his very best to make everything work. I decided to eventually let it go since there was no evidence except for the fact that he insisted on keeping it hidden, which was kind of a red flag. I was and I am not convinced there was nothing there. There weren't really any other indications. I had a pap smear scheduled recently and decided to go with all the tests covered by my healthcare plan. I only got results for one of them, which is chlamydia, and came back positive. He seemed pretty confident that it's clean, supported me with getting my tests, and even felt low-key offended that I would even imply that he gave me an STD. I feel so lost right now. I know from the bottom of my heart that he will deny having been with anyone else. Even if he did cheat, he will never admit. But I couldn't have gotten an STI from anyone else as I have not been with anyone else besides him. Ever. How do I go about this? How do I tell him so that he admits? I just need some closure and peace of mind. I want to know so I can move on and heal. Any input would be appreciated. Edit. He swears on his dead father he hasn't touched anyone else and must have had it since before we started dating. He is willing to test and keeps saying that the important thing is to get it treated so that we can be healthy. And that everything will be okay. Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1. If you are living with him, you let him know by packing your stuff and moving the hell out. Gaslighting is his game and it will never change. You know the truth and that's all that matters at this point. Op answer. We do not live together, fortunately. I have my own place and I am fully independent. I just don't know how I'll be able to cope. Redditor 2. He gave you an STD, he knows it, and he's trying to gaslight you. Eventually, he'll pretend like he got it a long time ago and it must have been dormant in his system, a lie. He probably got it fixed weeks ago, and now if he goes back he'll test clean. You are getting played? Op answer. How would he test clean if he was exposed to it again by having time with me? Redditor 3. If he's going to cheat on you, give you an STD, lie to you, and show zero remorse for any of it, what's the point of getting the truth? You know the truth, even if you don't want it to be true. Story 2. Can he really be this dumb? My 29F husband 43 meters, and I have been going to marriage counseling. In one of the sessions I told him how much it hurt me when he flirted with one of our mutual friends 36F and even described a particular day where they were flirting so much that I told them to get a room. They kept doing it and I got up and went to bed. Since then, we've seen her once, also made me uncomfortable, and I told my husband this. They have no personal space boundaries, frequently discuss sex, and I feel like a third wheel when the three of us hang out. At the same time, my husband and I have had a dry spell and have been very isolated from each other. I've asked him for more intimacy and I try to initiate it, to no avail. He has said he finds our friend attractive and has had sexual fantasies about her. This week, he offhandedly mentioned she would be coming over for dinner. I asked how they arranged this as the three of us have a WA group chat and I didn't see any messages. He said he had messaged her privately to invite her over. I told him that him messaging her privately and inviting her over without talking to me about it made me feel weird. He says he didn't think about my feelings when he messaged her and that it was innocent. My question, should I believe that he just didn't think it through, or is he doing this on purpose? Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1, of course he's doing it on purpose. If he isn't already sleeping with your friend, he's working up to it. Redditor follow-up, exactly, up. He's getting closer to being with her sexually if he hasn't already. Redditor 2, my question, should I believe that he just didn't think it through, or is he doing this on purpose? You probably need to grow a backbone quickly if you want to salvage any of this. Your husband knows all of this makes you uncomfortable, but he also knows you'll be a doormat and let him walk all over you as well, so he keeps doing it. Your friend also likely knows this makes you uncomfortable, so she keeps doing it, too. Turns out, neither her nor your husband are likely actual friends to you. Sorry to hear that you married an inconsiderate dickhead that's 14 years older than you, but he's doing it all on purpose and he isn't interested in you. Nor is he apparently interested in solving any of your couple's issues either. Your husband flirts with your friend in front of you, isn't intimate with you, tells you to your face that he finds her attractive and sexually fantasizes about her, most likely wants to duck her as well, and he clearly does not care about how any of this affects you. I don't care how good of a guy he is, this is the point where I'd be filing divorce papers. I'm a dude. This essay would be intolerable to me, in that level of rudeness, inconsideration, and even the type of personality to allow for any of that would be a complete deal breaker to me. You're 29, you're young enough to start over with ease, and he sounds like a middle-aged man baby with a acid personality. Not much of a gem worth holding on to there. Redditor follow-up. One could argue that his behavior lately makes it clear that he is not a good guy, and that's not even considering any of the other shoal things he does. Redditor 3, tell him you invited other friends around to join you all. Watch his disappointed, angry reaction. Cry deeply. Call the best divorce lawyer in town. Update, I tested positive for HPV. I don't know where to post this. A couple of weeks ago, my husband admitted to an EA, but swears it was never physical. To be on the safe side, I went for STD screenings, including a pap smear. I've tested positive for an HPV strain that can cause cervical cancer. My last screening was 2 years ago and I didn't have it then. My husband's response is that I must have been infected for years. Is that even possible, given my previous tests showed nothing? Redditor's reaction story 3 after. Redditor 1, contact the person he had the affair with and tell her to get checked for HVP, and when the results are back to let you know. This is the right thing to do even if she did cheat physically. Op answer, she has blocked me on everything, but I have told my soon-to-be ex-husband to tell her to do this. Redditor 2, retired OB/RN here. It's impossible to know for sure where or when you were infected, your husband is correct about that. HPV can lie dormant for years and decades, as many human viruses do. There is also evidence that it can be transmitted vertically, which means mother to baby. Honestly, from a medical perspective it's not a big deal. It requires surveillance, which means keeping up with your pap schedule. It can escalate to cervical cancer, but our screening methods have really improved in the last decade. I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this. All of this is hard. If you're not seeing someone for support, think about it. You're dealing with a lot, and your own perspectives can be wonky because of being shit-bombed right now. I feel you. Redditor follow-up. Not to cause alarm for the op, but my mother died of cervical cancer after her OB/GYN missed it 6 years ago. Saw something and then wanted to check up on it some time later. Suddenly it was gone, so nothing to worry about. Except he didn't consider cancer travels. No, we couldn't sue him and he's still practicing medicine, hopefully catching deadly ailments this time. Having said that, op, keep your eye out and always get second, third opinions. Story 3, how do you learn to accept the fact that you will never know the full truth? I think this is what I'm struggling with most. I obviously love my husband and he is showing remorse for what he's done. He's opened all lines of communication and given up any ounce of privacy he's previously had as far as I know. He wants our family to stay together and I want that as well. I just cannot shake the feeling that I don't know the entire truth. I hate the uncertainty that I'm living with. He's agreed to a polygraph, but I don't even see the point because those can be beat, and if he passed, I would still think he wasn't telling the full truth. It's just a never-ending loop that I feel like I'm stuck on. How do those of you who have reconciled get past this feeling? Edit. D-Day was 8 days ago. Update. I just keep digging deeper. Call it pain shopping if you will, but the need to know more feels all-consuming at times. It's 2 weeks exactly since D-Day. I 27F caught my husband 26M Snapchatting a couple of women, with one being the main focus. She is also married with 2 kids. I just had our first baby 8 weeks ago. This particular woman was one that he spoke with on multiple platforms and admitted to meeting up with her, but refused that anything other than a kiss happened. It's laughable, I know. They were duck buddies in the past, so I'm just automatically assuming they've ducked sometime in the past year because it makes sense, and he's a liar. After the initial blow-up, he trickled-truthed me for a few days. Everything he owned up to were only things that I had concrete proof of. Things are still coming to light, and it's all due to my incessant need to dig deeper and deeper into his electronic devices. After today, I'm not sure there's really much else I will be able to find, although I thought that a few days ago, and here we are. A few days ago I asked to look at his phone. He didn't even hesitate. While I was looking through, he fell asleep. Just as I was about to give him his phone back, he got a text message from a number that he had saved as Nina Servicios. When I asked him the day after D-Day who this person was, he told me it was a client of his who was an old woman. It was weird to me, but I let it go because I didn't have proof stating otherwise. When I opened this text message, it was 4 photos of 4 different women laying backside up on motel beds. No faces were shown. I immediately knew that these were prostitutes. I wanted to vomit, but couldn't help but think, man, the universe works in mysterious ways. I kept my cool, and woke him up and asked him what it was. He acted surprised and confused, which was obviously fake. I said, please do not tell me that you have been ducking prostitutes. He said he never did, he just asked about them. I asked him why he was inquiring about prostitutes if he didn't plan to duck prostitutes. He admitted that he obviously had intentions but ultimately didn't follow through. I asked him if this inquiry happened during the 6 weeks postpartum where my doctor highly discouraged having sex. He said yes, and I was just floored. We thought about it and I left because I was just so utterly disgusted by him as a person. I went online and looked through our call logs that go back a full year, and there were a few messages from this pimp, if you will, on 2 consecutive days. But there were only a few. Who knows if he did or didn't duck these very cheap and probably very nasty hokers. I just automatically assume he did. I got tested and I'm fine. Thankfully. Also on these text call logs, I found out how much he was actually talking to the main AP. It was weird, sometimes they would go days, weeks, or a month or 2 without texting or calling, and then there would be hundreds of text multimedia messages in a day. Apparently their main method of communication was Snapchat though, so I can't even imagine all of the that was on there before he deleted it. They also had Instagram messages dating back to 2020, but unfortunately they were deleted before I could read everything. Today, I did another deep dive. I need therapy. I know. I'm currently looking for a therapist. During this deep dive, I requested data from Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram. If you don't know what that is, they send you literally everything they have ever complied from your accounts. I was really hoping that this would include any deleted information, but unfortunately it did not. But I did come across some things that were still upsetting. He was getting pictures from girls, flirting with girls, asking them to meet up since we got married. We got married in 2018. So for 4 years, I've been out here looking like an actual clown. I trusted him completely and he completely embarrassed me for all of this time. One of the Snapchat messages was 3 months after we got married from a girl who he probably tried to hit on. His messages weren't saved. Only hers were, so I'm just guessing. But this message basically said, "You have a wife? Stop flirting with other girls and focus on her." I wanted to find this girl and hug her because she obviously had an actual moral compass. Unlike any of these other women, the crazy thing about today was that after finding the things I didn't cry. I was just exhausted and angry, and ultimately I just feel so embarrassed. I honestly never saw myself as a dummy. I actually think I'm incredibly smart and intuitive, but this whole thing just has me feeling like such a joke. I trusted him fully. I never questioned where he was, what he was doing, who he was with. I never asked to look through his phone. I never even thought about it. If anything, he always questioned me when I never even considered doing anything to hurt him. It makes sense now. It feels like the entire time he was just laughing in my face. He's begging me to work this out and swearing that I'm the only woman he wants. He wants to die with me and yada yada. He's acting very sorry and saying that he will do whatever it takes to show me that he is done with the little kid asset. He says he's stupid and an idiot for doing this to me all for nothing. It's just very hard to believe anything he says when I keep finding more and more information. I love my husband, but now I just hate that I love him. I want to give him a chance, but I am just mortified and disgusted that I'm with someone who I very clearly don't know. I'm not sure what the point of this post was, but it feels good to get this out in the open. If you've made it this far, thank you. Update, pre-polygraph confession. So about 24 hours after telling my WH I would like him to take a polygraph, he sat me down for 3+ hours and came clean about a lot of things. I wish I could say he told me everything, but obviously I'll never know if it was. With that being said, I do feel satisfied that my big questions were answered and most of the dots were finally connected. He swore that he never had time with a woman who was the main AP. It was basically an EA where they complained about their respective spouses and just gave each other attention that they felt they were lacking in their relationships. Irel, he said he picked her up from work one time and they made out. When I first found out, it was only a peck. Then he said he once met her at the laundromat and hung out for a few minutes and they made out there as well. This was 3 days before I gave birth, which makes me sick. Because the night before they met, my doctor sent me to the hospital for high blood pressure where he wasn't able to come with me because of the virus protocols. So I'm thinking the whole time he was sitting at home he was chatting it up with her. Of course for this he conveniently couldn't remember the time frame. He said he never had feelings for her and she is not someone he would ever be in a relationship with, she was just there. He then told me about a girl who used to work at the diner he was helping out as a cook. There was a suspicious name on his Snapchat that he could never give me a solid answer on. He told me that one day while he was on his break, he went to her apartment and had time with her. He said there was no prior relationship whatsoever, she was just very easy and that they didn't even kiss. He said him and 2 of his friends who were also cooks had made a pact that they would all lead her on, have time with her, and then pass her to the next person. These 2 particular friends are guys that I never liked. I always felt that they were gross and horrible influences. The way they treat their wives and the way they objectify women has always been sickening to me. I was sad to realize that my husband is exactly the same way. The best part about this specific girl is that I used to work at the diner as a server on the weekends with my husband for extra money. This girl was working there at the same time as me. She'd always talk to me and try to be friendly with me, which is beyond ducked up. He then told me about a woman who was the wife of a client of his landscaping business. He said he went to do work for a guy, and while he was there, the wife came out and he started talking to her. They're both Hispanic, so they got along and exchanged numbers. My husband is 26. This woman is 37. Married with 3 kids. No judgment on relationships with age gaps, but just thought it would be necessary to add that. He said she started asking him for pics. He told her she needed to send something first. So she did, but they weren't nudes. Just barely risque. He said he sent her a DCK pic and then she wanted to meet up. He said they were going to meet up one Sunday, but it didn't work out because of her kids. Well, I found her phone number and her husband's phone number, so I will be texting him the photos today and letting him know what his wife has been doing behind his back. So those were the main 3 suspicions I had that were weighing on me the heaviest. We talked about other things. Mostly things I already knew, but he went into detail about. While we were having this talk, I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't yell. We spoke very civilized and calmly to each other, and I just felt pure relief. It felt like I was finally free from a cage I'd been locked in. I asked him why he did all of this, and he just said that he was stupid and didn't really realize what he would be losing if he lost me. I asked him why he was talking to pursuing girls the entire 4 years we've been married, and he just said that he's always been that way and just didn't know how to stop. He said that none of them meant anything to him and he would just use them and toss them to the side. He said in a past relationship he was hurt very badly, so he made it his mission to make sure that he hurt people first before they could hurt him, and when we got together he just didn't know how to turn it off. I personally feel that what he told me paints him to have sociopathic tendencies, which is scary. I told him I want him to do IC before we do MC so that he can address his problems and why he feels that it's okay to treat people in the way that he does. We are still doing the polygraph, and I will be letting the examiner know that there was a confession so that he can ask the right questions to see if there's anything that's missing. I will post another update once that's complete. As always, if you made it this far, thank you. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. Are you letting the wives of the chefs from the diner know? You should. Op answer. I try to get their info to no avail. I'm almost positive they know already. These are the types of guys who treat their wives like actual trash and most likely don't hide their cheating. Redditor 2. Do you really want to keep a relationship with a person who you really don't know? He has been like this the whole relationship and you still believe him? If you really insist on rekindle this relationship, please both go to individual counseling. He need to address his sociopath tendencies and fix them before he even considered to be in a healthy relationship. And why you need to address your codependency. You have let him pass over you a lot of times and you need to ensure that you have the strength to put an end to the relationship if he continue to be like this. Only when you feel in balance again, then think about marriage counseling. Take at least 6 months to work on yourselves separately and then begin a new relationship step by step. He has to prove with his actions that he is going to change permanently and not just the enough time to rug sweeping all of this. Op answer. I honestly don't know what I want. What I feel for him is not love anymore. It's just indifference. Like you said, I don't know him. I definitely want individual counseling for the both of us because I'm traumatized from this. And whether or not we decide to move forward as a couple or single, I don't want to carry this trauma into a new relationship. Redditor 3. He seemed to come cleanish on the ones where you already had suspicions. If you move forward with the polygraph, please make sure it is a surprise so he has no time to prepare. Think on this, please. He's shown you who he is. Believe him. You have a small child. Would it be better for that child to grow up in a fractured household than in a few years it all rises up again, or for you to split up and co-parent now? Your child will be less impacted the sooner the separation happens. Redditor 4 said that none of them meant anything to him and he would just use them and toss them to the side. Ha! Like that's somehow better. Remember to check out my new channels. Link in the description. Have a nice day.